Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
I, 23, female, am in a bad situation and looking for help. I recently got married, and my husband and I have been involved in some bad stuff. To be honest, it all started because we were looking to make some quick money. Life has never been easy for us, and I guess now our choices have finally caught up with us. For some background, we both grew up in poor households and went to high school in a rough area, which is where we met. Where we're from, it's pretty normal to do some sketchy stuff to make ends meet. We try to be better than that, but it's hard to break out of old habits and turn over a new leaf when you're young and don't have a lot of support. Plus, neither of us really had much going for us when we first entered the real world. We didn't do good in school, and when we got out of high school, there wasn't much to do except work minimum wage jobs. At first, that wasn't so bad. We could afford rent and weren't going hungry at least. But for how hard we worked, we were still broke and completely exhausted. We had a little junky apartment and a beater car. My husband worked nights and I worked days, so it was like we were ships in the night in our own home. We would barely see each other and our relationship was suffering. We both were unhappy, working so hard and being so broke. We had dreams of traveling and wanted to be able to afford fun stuff like concerts and tattoos or nice restaurants. Really, we just wanted to be able to fund a lifestyle where we could still see each other and make happy memories. Well, that's all backfired now. Everything changed because my best friend Lily was in the same position. Lily went to school with me and my husband and also didn't have much going for her. One night, we were on the phone, complaining about our jobs and how hard life is and wondering what was wrong with us that we couldn't break the cycle of being broke in our families and our neighborhood. It felt like we were just repeating the same miserable lives our parents had, and their parents too. That's when I got the idea to invite her in to live with us. She moved in with us about a year ago because we all wanted to save on rent. Big mistake. I'd give anything to go back and change that one decision. My life would be so different if I had. Not too long into Lily living with us, she introduced us to this guy who could help us make extra money. I'm not going to go into details on here, but it wasn't exactly legal what we were doing. We were stupid though and did it without a second thought because we just wanted extra money, especially me. I saw a chance for a better life and I took it without hesitation. Pretty soon, we were making thousands of dollars and our lives were getting better and better. I bought rings, purses, and even a new car. We didn't care that what we were doing was illegal. We started spending money like crazy, going on trips and thinking we were hot stuff. That's when things started to go downhill. I had wanted the chance for my husband and me to spend more time together and reconnect with our romance. Even though we were making money together, it was driving us further apart. My husband stopped being affectionate towards me and always seems shifty at home. I could never look at his phone, and he was always disappearing on weekends for long periods of time. He told me it was work stuff, but sometimes he would come home smelling like perfume. When I confronted him about this, he told me not to worry because it was Lily's perfume. No big deal. Just working on the job together, according to him. While things have seemed great on the surface for us, beneath all the glitz and glam, things were anything but. For one thing, work got even more stressful. The guy we were working for gave us this crazy job that would make us more money than we had ever made before, as long as we didn't get caught. There had been some rumors that the police were tracking us, and that made me nervous. It was going to be high risk to complete this job, but I didn't care, mostly because I had big plans to go on a trip to Ibiza and needed money to find it. Ibiza had been on my bucket list for a while. I know it's not just all dancing, drinking, and clubbing, but those were the three things on the list that I wanted to do. It might sound silly to you, but I was really caught up in wanting to live like I was rich and famous. Because I was so set on making this money to visit Ibiza, I didn't really care that the risk was so high. Well, I did care, but not enough to back out of the plan. My husband, though, was skeptical that the police might be tracking us. I told him not to worry because I was just so set on the money. The three of us, me, my husband, and Lily, discussed the pros and cons of this specific job a lot. Sometimes it would just be the two of them supposedly discussing it in private or texting about it late at night when he was in bed with me. That's when I started to notice that something weird was going on between my husband and Lily. Since we were all three working together, they grew very close, and she was living in our spare bedroom. Lily is a very beautiful girl, so at times I would be jealous. One time we all got drunk, and I asked my husband if he found Lily attractive, and he said she was a 10. I know, I asked, but it still upset me. Then there would be nights where I got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom or something and would see them both talking in whispers in the living room. When I confronted them, they said they were just talking about work, but I should have known it was more than that. Back to this last job, it was high risk. But like I said, I wanted to do it because I knew it would be a high reward. The more I thought about it, though, the more I didn't want Lily on it. We were planning to use the money to go to Ibiza, and I had a bad feeling about bringing her with us. Now that I thought something might be going on between her and my husband. I didn't confront my husband yet about thinking he might be cheating because I was kind of in denial. But I did tell him that I wanted to cut Lily out of this job and go to Ibiza without her. I kind of thought about it like a test, too, to see if he would choose me over her. I told him not to tell Lily our new plan because she is close with the guy we work for, and I didn't want her to sabotage the job and lose work for us out of spite. When I brought this up to my husband, he kind of argued with me and didn't want to do it, but I got really mad and he finally gave in. I guess he technically passed the test, but only temporarily. The next day, we were going to do the job and lie to Lily and say we rescheduled it. I went ahead and booked our plane tickets to Ibiza for that same night. We would do the job, then head to the airport and fly off together, just the two of us. We'd be gone before Lily even knew. I knew she would be mad, but I was kind of hoping she would just get mad, move out, and be out of our lives. Then I wouldn't have to worry anymore about her and my husband and if something was going on. The next day, my husband called me frantic and said to abandon the job and head to the airport early. I didn't know what was going on, but his voice sounded so urgent. I packed my bags as quickly as I could and headed off to the airport. When I got there, I was looking around confused and couldn't find him. Finally, I saw him and started toward him to ask WTF was going on. That's when a woman next to him turned around and my heart dropped. Lily. They were both giving me this evil smile and waving, and that's when I realized they were behind the security line and I couldn't get to them. I yelled my husband's name and told him to wait, but he just turned around and walked away into the airport with Lily. I knew in an instant they were definitely having an affair and taking our tickets to Ibiza. My husband had probably told Lily all about my plan to cut her out, and instead they did the reverse to me. How could they? I was so angry and hurt that I went to my car and cried. Not only had I just lost my husband, but I just lost my source of income completely. In a moment of rage, I called the police department I told them a tip that would for sure bust my husband and Lily for the job they just completed. I let the police know too what time their flight would be leaving. The guy we worked for is pretty high up in the criminal world, and I knew the police would waste no time at an opportunity to take down part of his organization. I sat in my car in the airport parking lot and waited. Sure enough, not much later, there were two cop cars flying in with lights on, and they ran into the airport. They took my husband and Lily out in cuffs, and I just sat back and smirked the whole time. AITA. My husband and Lily have pending court dates, and I've moved out of our house. I know that I'm just as guilty of these crimes as they are, but I can't bring myself to turn myself in. The police are naturally investigating me anyway, so I guess if I go down too, that's just karma. I don't regret it at all, though. I couldn't just watch those two with smug looks on their face take off and screw me over. No matter what happens with this investigation, one thing is for sure, my marriage is over, and friendship too. YTA, and you're not very smart. I can't believe you went straight to calling the cops. You're definitely going down for these crimes too. You know that, right? NTA, he deserved it. What a loser. I hope you turn your life around and find a new career that is actually legal, girl. I, 21, female, have been friends with Josh, 21, male, since we were kids. Our moms were friends growing up, and we were pretty much raised together. We have continued to stay best friends through all these years and both attend the same college. A year ago, Josh started seeing a girl, Lydia, 21, female, and it eventually developed into a relationship. They have been officially dating for 6 months. I never met her when they were just talking because he didn't know where the relationship was going, and obviously the times they were hanging out, it was a no close party, and I didn't want to be a cock block. When they did start dating, he introduced us ASAP because I'm his best friend. At first, I thought it was just shyness because I am a close friend of his, so you obviously want to get along with your partner's friend, but it became clear very quickly that she just had a problem with our friendship. This past Saturday, there was a Halloween party at our friend's place. Lydia was bringing a friend and told Josh that she and her friend would be doing a matching costume. So Josh asked me if we wanted to do a costume together. We decided to go as Steve and Robin from Stranger Things. I guess on Friday he told her this was happening, and suddenly her tune changed, and she wanted to do a couple's costume. He saw what she was doing and told her no. So she then texted me asking if I would change my costume. I said no, because I already spent my money and didn't know if I could return it. Plus, I'd have to scramble for another costume. All of a sudden, I started getting spammed by random numbers, probably her friends, calling me all sorts of names. The whole time, Saturday, she was sulking and one of her friends seemed to be consoling her the whole night. It just felt awkward. Josh is telling me we didn't do anything wrong, but I feel like he's biased because he's my friend. I want a third party's opinion. AITA? I don't plan on telling him about the texts. None of them were malicious or scary, just mean-spirited. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and hope that this was a random act that was totally out of her typical character. After reading some of your comments, I plan on telling Josh after class today when we meet up for lunch. I told Josh. Of course, as many of you predicted, he is unsurprisingly really upset with her. Josh is going to come over so we can talk about the texts more since I showed it to him very quickly because I have lecture after lunch. NTA, it would have been one thing if she wanted to do a matching costume with Josh. In that case, sorry, but she, as the girlfriend, takes rank over you as the friend. But that wasn't the case here. Her sulking and having people spam your phone was ridiculous. No matter what anyone says, there's always a certain degree of awkwardness when you start dating someone who has a close friend of the opposite gender. But if she wants to talk about boundaries, she needs to do it in a more mature way. NTA, she seems jealous of your close relationship with your friend. Your relationship sounds clearly platonic, especially considering you went as Steve and Robin for Halloween. However, one thing I would consider is, even though you two have been friends for a long time, displaying that close relationship to a new partner could potentially invoke feelings of jealousy. It seems alarming to me that she has other people calling to harass you about it. So some personality issues may have been brought to his attention early on. So maybe it helped him dodge a bullet. I would try to take a backseat approach with your friend when either one of you gets into a new relationship. I'm 28, male, and myself and my older siblings moved out after living with our parents to save money for our own house. There are still a couple of siblings still living in the family home to save money for their own place. This situation involves my youngest sister, Jess, 27. My family immigrated to the US several decades ago. We are a very family-oriented culture. It's a common thing in our culture for children to live with their parents well into adulthood. It's expected that we pitch in to make the family stronger. For example, when I was younger, I had a hard time with math, so my older cousin tutored me every day. Another example is that older family members regularly babysit the younger siblings and cousins. Jess lives with my parents since graduating college, doesn't have to pay rent, and they pay for the food. There's been an ongoing argument between them because she keeps to herself and doesn't help out with the family. For example, my aunt asked her to tutor our little cousin in chemistry, and she refused, saying it's not her job. Another time, an uncle asked her to babysit, and she refused by saying she didn't have the children, so it's not her responsibility. Things got worse recently. The last straw came when Dad cooked dinner the night before, and everyone was running late the next day. Since she was going to be the first one home, he texted her and asked her to heat up dinner for the family. When they got home, nothing was done, so he asked her about it. She said she heated her dinner and ate. She went on to say, they're adults, and it's not her job to take care of them. It blew into a huge argument. Dad accused her of not being part of the family, and her attitude is not part of our culture. She answered that we live in the US, not in the old country, and the culture here is that people take care of their own children and themselves. She told him the kids are not her monies, so it's not her circus. Dad was furious and fired back, saying she can't pick and choose the parts of different cultures that only benefit her. He went on to say that Americans leave the house at 18, and it's not part of American culture to allow a 27-year-old to live at home, so he kicked her out. She called me crying, saying that she's now homeless and that Dad is an ass. I told her that our parents paid for her schooling, so she has 2 degrees and no debt. They also allowed her to live there rent-free and even paid for her food, so she's been able to save up close to $75,000. I told her that it's true she's homeless, but she's not helpless. With her job and savings, she can stay at a nice hotel and have an apartment tomorrow. I told her I also agree when he said she can't pick and choose to follow only the cultural parts that only benefit her. She called me an ass like Dad and then hung up. Am I an ass? NTA. Your dad is right. So are you. I'm Canadian. We're pretty similar to Americans in many ways. Not sure where in the US you live, but it's normal that adults do live on their own, sometimes after high school, or pay rent at home, though many families have a system that parents support as long as the child is in school, including post-secondary. Definitely, in Canada, it's a normal expectation to help support your own family and friends. Babysitting and tutoring are perfectly fine to ask. Like Reddit posts where an 18-year-old is kicked out on their 18th birthday are sadly common, but most people are outraged by it. Your own family's expectations aren't out of the left field, as you have described them. Your sister sounds overly self-centered and narcissistic. Time for her to grow up. NTA, but your sister is. Sounds like she's about to get a third degree from the School of Tough Love. Good for your dad. NTA, you were right. The problem here is that while it might be culturally normal for adults to stay at home for some time, it is not normal to raise them with the belief they are entitled to not contribute to the family. Your parents did not disavow her belief much earlier in this, so she was never prepped to understand the difference in expectations for her as an adult living at home. Based on how this evolved, I don't think he should have immediately kicked her out. Since she has the resources, he should have given her a week to get a place. It's not surprising she reacted this way because obviously she has always been given things and never held accountable for her behavior before. Now she will have to learn a painful lesson.